Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. As often happens, more often than not, on Chef AJ Live, each guest is referred by a previous guest. And when we had Shobha on, she did an amazing presentation of Indian snacks and meals. And you said, we want more of her, and we will get more of her. But she said, we have to have today's chef on. Her name is Sapna Von Reich. She's going to be making a dish with not only lentils, but with one of my very favorite greens, which is Swiss chard. And she's going to talk all about some of the other classes that she teaches, including a spice class, which I can't wait to learn about. Please welcome her to the show. It's so nice to meet you.
Hi, Chef AJ. I'm a big fan of yours. You know what? I used to watch your show, Chef and the Dietitian. That was my favorite show. And I used to watch it and just to unwind myself. It was so much fun to watch.
Oh, thank you. And that was like over 11 years ago. So
I mean, I know, I've been watching you since then. I've watched a lot of your YouTube lives too.
Well, thank you
for
so
having
much.
me on.
My pleasure. Well, now you are on one of them. So what I'm going to do is I know you're doing two cameras, which I appreciate. So I'll take myself off screen. You'll just hear my voice if there's any questions, and tell us what you're going to do today. But even more important, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get interested in healthy cooking and healthy eating?
I've always been conscious about what I eat, but and I've been teaching cooking classes for 18 years. I moved from India in 2001, and since 2003, I've been teaching cooking classes. But 2010, my parents in India, they went to a whole foods plant-based vegan retreat to reverse their type 2 diabetes. This was the very first which happened in India, and they were the guinea pig batch, and they were told that they will reverse their type 2 diabetes in 21 days flat. And it was run by Dr. Nandita Shah. I think you've had
Nandita Shah. We're in communication for her to come back in December. I love her because she's also an ethical vegan in addition to being a healthy vegan.
She's my guru and my family's guru. So she introduced veganism to my parents, and they reversed their type 2 diabetes in flat 21 days in her retreat. And then it took me 3-4 months. Like, my sister went with them to help them out. My sister lives in India, and she kept telling me, try this 21-day challenge, PCRM's Kickstart program. And I was like, okay, my children are small. I gave all my excuses to myself. But then after 4 months, I gave it 100% and never looked back.
That's incredible. Do your parents still live in India?
My parents live in India. I lost my dad 5 years ago. My mom is still vegan. And even if you give her money, she won't eat anything but what she eats.
I wouldn't mind I would love to hear their story sometime. Do you think they'd want to be on the show and talk about how they reversed their diabetes with Dr. Shah?
My mom doesn't speak English so much. Oh. And, I don't have my dad anymore. So he would have loved to do that. But he was so excited. It was so funny that this man never went in the kitchen for all his life, because traditionally Indian men don't go in the kitchen, at least my dad's generation and before. And so my mom made all the food, and he went to this retreat, and he came home and he was like, okay, I'm going to teach the servants, because in India, servants help cook in the kitchen. I'm going to teach everybody how to do this. I've learned it and I'll do it. And he used to really, he was so kicked. He used to tell everybody that you should try this. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so it was your parents that brought you over to this way.
Yeah. And the best part is, like, all that 21 days I was doing the Kickstart, I kept calling them every night and saying, actually, I was talking to my sister. My sister's the one who converted me. And she was like, I was telling her that, don't force me beyond 21 days. And I did it 100% though. And then towards the end, like last day, I was like, oh my God, this feels so good. Why wasn't I eating like this before?
And what year was that?
2010, September.
Wow, fantastic. Well, soon 21 days will have turned into 21 years.
I like that. Yeah. So it's been, and then what happened is 2011. So I got introduced to Dr. Barnard and Physicians Committee by my sister and also Dr. Nandita Shah. And I looked into the Food for Life program. And 2011, I got certified by PCRM to teach Food for Life classes. So I've been teaching that for 10 years, over 10 years.
That is wonderful. Since going plant-based yourself, have you been able to inspire any friends or family?
Oh, I teach, I actually teach a lot of classes, sometimes 5 a week. So I'm always teaching. This is my full-time job. And I have helped people shift so many times. My approach is very flexible though. Like I don't force them to do it one way or the other. I teach an employee wellness program. I go in there, I, talk about Dr. Barnard's program and I say, give it a 21 day. And then, and then sooner or later, 5 people will out of the group will say, okay, we're just sticking to this now. So, and then the feedback I get is because I am so approachable and not like, hammering it down to them, they're able to work with me and, kind of change slowly or sometimes overnight, depending on where they are at.
Yeah, you don't hammer them like Dr. Goldhammer.
I like him though. I mean, I'm a big fan of him. I wish I could look like him and I could be what he does. It's amazing.
That's great.
It's sometimes hard when you're raising a family and you want to keep things flexible for everybody and still do things your way. I'm cooking, so I do what I do, and
Did you always enjoy cooking even before you went vegan?
I went to a design school in India. It was one of the best design schools in India. And I did, I worked as a designer in India and I came here. My second passion was going, learning something like a culinary school or whatever, but not my first passion. So I did that. I came here, I had a baby and I was like, what can I do? I can't do jewelry right now because that's what my training is. And then I said, okay, I'm going to start teaching part-time. And I used to literally teach one class a month because I wanted to stay home with my baby. And people used to say, what do you do? And I'm like, I am a full-time mom. And then that turned into 5 a month and then a 5, 4 or 5 a week now, 10 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
20 years later, my son is 20.
And are your classes in person or virtual?
I was in person till 2020. And like all of us, after COVID hit us, I also do. So I'm kind of all, hybrid, some online and some in person right now.
Nice. And for in-person classes, where would somebody need to live to study with you?
Oh, so I'm in Fort Collins, Colorado, but I also go into Windsor, Loveland. I've gone into Greeley, Wellington, so kind of around the area to teach. But Fort Collins, Windsor, and Loveland is my major classes. And I teach a whole bunch of kids too.
Oh, that must be fun. What's it like teaching children? Are they open to trying different foods?
It's really interesting. I don't go into the class saying I'm vegan and I teach vegan classes. And then if it's more than 1 day or 5 class series, like I teach PCRM's 5 class series, and by the 5th day or 2nd, 3rd day, they will be like, oh, she's vegan, she's going to do tofu. Like they keep nudging each other and talking about it, but they eat everything. And parents actually come to me and say that it's so nice to introduce them to new food. And so I've never had a negative comment. So I'm so blessed. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's what I always did is I never billed the classes as vegan. I would say cholesterol free or sugar free. And then afterwards I go, hey, is this vegan? I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah. And Chef AJ, I had like kids coming from, so I teach 6 to 13 and then my adult classes starts from 14 plus. So I kind of cover all ages pretty much. But the kids classes, I had kids coming at 6, or sometimes they're not even 6 and they get special permission to come in because they are into food. And then I've seen them grow up to like 13 and they can't come to my class anymore. And then they, I tell them, okay, come to the adult class now that you're, it's 14 plus. So I've seen the kids growing, and those kids who have come to my classes, I can give them chores like I would do to my kids, in the sense they know me and they know how I work and they know how to chop. And it's so fun to watch them grow in my, during my classes. So
It is so fun. What are you going to make for us today?
today, I thought I'll do some lentil, like a dal, basically, lentil curry or dal. And then to add some greens, traditionally spinach is added, but I like to add any greens. So today I'm doing Swiss chard, but you could do spinach. You could even use frozen spinach or just frozen kale. Yeah, it's really easy. You do need 2 pots, though. I'm warning everybody. Indian food is usually 2 pots, or at least 1 pot in a pan, because we kind of do, one thing on one pan and the other thing quickly. It's called tempering, and then we combine the 2.
Oh, wow. Can't wait to see.
Yeah. So maybe I'll get started and we'll chat more.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm just curious, did you notice, I mean, because your parents, they changed their diet because you said they were diabetic, but did you have any health issues and if you did you notice any difference when you changed your diet?
I actually had very bad migraine, and my migraine went away in that 21 days. And I've never had, I could literally feel my body fighting it. Like sometimes I'll get it if I'm in the sun for a long time, but I can see my body is like, I never get a full blown migraine or even mild migraine anymore. Seldom. I did get COVID once, and that time I did get some headache, but generally I don't get any more headaches, which is so nice.
I can imagine.
So I'm going to start with a lesson on what to do with the lentils, and then I have lots of lentils here, so we can talk more about lentils if your audience have questions. And this is red lentil. Traditionally, this recipe is made with tur dal, which is the yellow lentils. Can you see both my cameras? Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful, the setup.
Yeah. So that's called tur dal. It looks like split peas, but just smaller. And otherwise, sometimes they'll make with this moong dal or mung beans, but these are the split ones. They are also called yellow mung beans. So Chef AJ, this one and this one is actually the same family. Okay, the mung beans you get in the market, the green ones, they split it and peel it, and then they call it yellow mung beans. It's exactly same family, but this cooks in 20 minutes and this takes a long time because of the fact that it's bigger. Yeah.
Perfect. Do you ever use that Indian spice, the mango powder?
I do use it. I love it. Mango powder, my favorite. Yeah.
It's so good.
It creates a little sourness, and it's nice. And if you don't have mango powder, you can always add lime or lemon. And so what I like to do is, even though the packet instructions don't say it, I like to put it in cold water and let it soak for 10 minutes. I may or may not have written that in my recipe because, but I'm just letting you know. So I'm going to basically just put some water and set aside for 10 minutes. What happens is a lot of gas, it kind of gets degassed a little bit. So a lot of gas comes into that. It's water soluble, so it comes in that water. And then you drain the water, you rinse it very well, and then you cook with it. Yeah, so just 5-10 minutes for red lentil. But other lentils, you may want to soak a little bit longer. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the red lentils because they're pretty.
Yeah, and also they're very high in antioxidants because of the color. So I like to not prep anything. I like to go in the kitchen and I don't do mise en place. So I thought I will show you how I cook. So I just go in the kitchen, and if lentil is to cook, I will actually use an Instant Pot. But today I just did it in a regular pot because in case some of the viewers don't have Instant Pot, they can know that it can be done in a. So you just put lentils. So I've already soaked it, rinsed it, and cooked it. And all you do is put some turmeric and water, and you cook it. And that's ready for us. But generally, I will do that, and then I'll start chopping, and I'll do the second part of this recipe on the side, okay? Which is basically here. And my pan is actually hot, so that's good. And then, so Swiss chard, you just want to use the I like to just break it a little bit and then I could swipe it in one stroke. It has been sitting out for a while, so it's sort of a little bit drier, but usually it'll come out in one stroke like that. And then you could do rainbow charts, red or yellow. You could do all yellow, all red, doesn't matter. It's very flexible recipe. And these are not rinsed, so I'm going to do the ones which are rinsed. So I will use the stems as well. I'm going to use 3 tomatoes and I want to rinse them a little bit. And then I like to use red purple onions just because it has more antioxidants and I like them. But if you don't want, you can always use yellow too.
It's so beautiful looking at what you're doing. It almost looks like art.
Yeah, I love colors, and I guess it's just all that design background.
That's why I've always liked rainbow chard the best. It's just so pretty.
So I literally just chop what is going to go first. So I have like half a medium onion, or you can call it half cup. And then my pan is hot here. And what I want to do is show you something here. So here I have all my whole spices, which Indians tend to use a lot. So it's easy to just grab what I need. This is not mentioned in the recipe, but if you like to make it very traditional Indian, we like to have whole chilies and break the chilies in that. This, what I'm doing here is called tempering. This is called cooking lentils, and this is called tempering, and then we combine the two. Okay, and if you don't have whole chilies and you want it spicy, you could also just use crushed chili flakes. It works very well, but the recipe doesn't call for any of them because it doesn't matter if you don't have it.
There's a question from a live viewer if you could use beet greens instead of the chard.
Oh yeah, I've used beet greens. I love beet greens. And it makes the whole lentil curry so beautiful and purple. So sorry, I was looking for my garlic. And I need some garlic too. And I like to use 2 big or 3 cloves of garlic because I'm a big fan of garlic. I like to take the paper out and keep it ready for me. They're not peeled, but they just sit there on the side in my kitchen, and then I can find it and use it. So I come in the kitchen. If I'm serving this with a grain, I will cook the grain on the side. So I actually have a rice cooker cooking my brown rice, but you could use any grain, any grain really, quinoa, whatever calls your name. And you can even eat it like a soup. So you don't need a grain.
But grains make everything more hearty, don't you think?
Yeah, I love grains. I mean, I have no problems eating grains, but you know how it is. Everybody has their preferences. So I respect what people want to do for their lives. And so we're just going to cut this in a minute. And I'm going to basically. So here's my spice box. And I will need the mustard seeds, and I'm going to put it right here. Can you see my other pan here?
Yep.
And so as soon as if the pan is hot, it's going to start cooking very quickly. I'm going to add this. And since the pan is super hot, it happens because we're kind of doing everything on the camera. I'm going to break this chili. If you're using it, do it. And then you're going to put the onions. And I did not add any oil there. It's a dry pan. And there's a couple other things we should add. So this is called asafoetida. Asafoetida spice actually helps with the digestion. So you just want to put a little bit in the pan so it kind of roasts, and then mix it up. See? And this is a digestive spice. And Chef AJ, this sometimes has gluten in it. So you can buy gluten-free.
I didn't realize it sometimes had gluten.
Sorry?
Oh, I didn't realize that sometimes it's pronounced Asafet, I never could pronounce it very well.
Asafoetida, yeah.
And it
In
sometimes
Hindi,
has gluten.
yeah, it has gluten. I'm gonna just put it aside because the pan was super hot and I don't want to burn it. And another thing I like to use, which is optional, is curry leaves. And what I like to do is I like to bring curry leaves home and let them dry on a plate on the counter. And then I put it in a jar and just kind of dried curry leaves. So I don't have to worry about going to Indian store every day. And then I put this in the fridge so that I always have curry leaves. But if you don't have it, you can still do without it. So I'm going to bring this back here. Just give it a stir. And I'm going to chop the garlic now. So to recap, we had mustard seeds, cumin seeds, a little bit of red chili if you want, safatida, and curry leaves. And garlic can be chopped actually roughly or mince, however you like to do it. Especially for this recipe. I'm just going to try and mince it a little bit. And then I don't like to add any water when I'm sauteing. I know it's called water saute, but I don't like to add water right now because I want that onion to release its own water. And so I'm going to add all this garlic and I'm going to cook it another 30 seconds without any water. And then if I need water, I will add a splash to pick up all the burn. This way, I feel like it sautés and has more flavor than when you're trying to just put water first and then you kind of cook things. So I don't put water when I'm cooking mushrooms. I just let the water come out of the vegetables. And then all these beautiful Swiss chard stems will also get in the food. So you want to kind of cut it like you would cut celery for soup. And after 30 seconds, you always want to give that 30 seconds to the garlic. And then you want to put this in there. See that?
Nice. You can never have too much garlic, right?
I love garlic. And, you know, if you can keep the garlic chopped for 10 minutes, it'll give more antioxidants. So try to chop the garlic first thing. So whenever I have to chop so many things, right now on the camera, I'm not thinking, but I would chop the garlic and leave it here. And then while it's sitting, it will release something called allicin, and that will help us get more nutrition out of garlic. So I'm just going to saute this while I'm cutting this. So you see that there is no need to make, actually, there's one more thing I want to add. So these are serrano peppers. And Chef AJ, did you know that the smaller ones are sharper? So you see that the thinner and smaller one is the sharper one. So if you want it not so spicy, pick up the big ones. I like to pick up the small ones. You know why? Because I love spicy food, right? So, and then you want to take that, and I'm going to add a whole serrano pepper because what I like to do is to keep the stem on and literally just slit it nicely. So when I go to chop, it's going to mince for me. You see that? That's cut already nicely. And I'm going to add that because it's going to give us a little more heat. And if you see that it's starting to get a little bit burnt here, right? So now I'm going to add a splash of water. Just a tablespoon to pick up the burn. And then when I add tomato, it's going to pick up more. You see it picked up. And it's comfortable now, and it's going to keep cooking. Okay, for the tomatoes, you can literally grate the tomatoes, blend the tomatoes, or chop it. However, how much ever time you have, you could do it. I like to chop everything. So
Lisa's saying, and mango powder is called amchur powder.
yeah, so amchur powder, basically am is mango in Hindi and chur is powder. So amchur means mango powder already. So we're kind of saying powder twice. Amchur powder is mango powder.
Mango powder. That's funny.
It's like when we go to like get a chai tea. Now chai tea is saying tea twice, according to me. It's called chai in India. It's not called chai tea.
That's funny.
Or masala chai, because chai tea means spicy chai, tea with spices, right? So in India, we call that masala chai. But when I came here first time, I was like 32 years old, and my neighbor knocked and she said, "Can I borrow some curry?" And I was like, "What do you want?" Because curry to me is something which is cooked with sauce, like, or gravy. So like what I'm making right now is a curry, but here we call curry powder curry, right?
That's funny.
So I learned very quickly a few things as soon as I landed, how to change things, you know.
There's a question if this recipe could be made in the Instant Pot.
Yeah, you can make, you never want to cook the tempering first and then add lentils. What I do is I put the lentils in the Instant Pot and then do the masala on the side. This is also called tempering or masala. And you want to do this not before cooking lentils. So just cook your lentils. If you look at my recipe, the note says how to cook in an Instant Pot.
Terrific. Why would there be gluten in asafoetida? I mean, like, why would that even be necessary? Because
yeah, asafoetida actually not only helps a little flavoring, but it helps with the digestive. It's a digestive spice. So like ginger, asafoetida, cumin, all of these are digestive spice, and it helps to digest the lentils and beans and causes less gas.
Got it.
Yeah.
I saw a question is, how do you suggest getting amla? Canned, fresh, powdered? Any tips to find it?
Yeah, I use amla powder too, and I just get powdered one because we live in America, or at least I live in America. You know, Chef AJ, you might be having some people from another country, right? If you can find fresh amla, nothing like it. If you can find dried, like my mom will dry fresh amla and then save it. So then she has it for when she needs it, like dried pieces of amla. But here we can only get ground amla, right? Or amla powder. So I have here as well. I like to keep some in my refrigerator. And guess what? You can use this instead of amchur powder too. It has a very tart flavor. So kind of mix it up so you get the antioxidant of amla powder. I like to put it in my smoothies. They have a really nice little tart flavor, and you never want to put a lot. Like I would probably put half teaspoon per serving for smoothies, because it's very concentrated. So you see how I'm cutting everything small, and that way they just disappear in my, you know, it'll get cooked. And at this stage, I like to cover it. And so the steam will help me cook the tomatoes down. Any questions you have, Chef AJ?
Yeah, I actually saw, I did see a question about mustard. Hold on. It's, where did it go? It was about the difference between mustard. I got to find it. It was a question about the difference between mustard seed and mustard powder, I think. But where did it go? I will look for it again.
Mustard seed and mustard powder. So typically in Indian food, we use brown. I usually, when I write recipe, I write brown, black, because they kind of look both. So if you have one or the other, doesn't matter. You just don't want to use the yellow kind. So you see that? And if you ask me, buy the ones which look very small compared to the little bit bigger mustard seeds. I just like, they flavor better. So, or they kind of split and they're not chunky. So buy smaller mustard seeds in brown or black, doesn't matter. And then I have here garam masala, which is my curry. This is coriander. I like to grind my own coriander, but you can always buy it. And this is Indian cayenne or Indian red chili powder, they call it. And then this is cumin seeds. And this is ground cumin. And of course, this is turmeric. So basically in Indian curry, most of the curries use all of these spices or most of these. That's why we have a container like this. So we don't have to open like 6, 7 containers every time.
What's that thing called that you keep your spices in? It's like this silver thing. It's really cool. Like you see Indian chefs use it.
Yeah, this is the Indian spice container.
I love that.
It's, yeah, let me bring it. So it looks like this. And it's like a stainless steel container. Traditionally, this is how it looks like. And the container we never fill it more than a third because this doesn't have any airtight lid. This is more for convenience. So we keep filling it and we keep using it. So you see that doesn't have any lid, but it's just this lid. So it kind of exposed to air somewhat, right? So you never want to fill it all the way. And if you fill it all the way, they tend to be like, before you know, the mustard seeds will be in the garam masala. I kind of mix it up. So it's good to just fill it 1/3. Beautiful. And every Indian family has this.
Well, speaking of spices, you're going to be teaching a free Indian spice class. I've posted the link both in the chat and the show notes. So people, please register for that. It's just for you guys. And Jolene says, is dal just another word for lentil?
Dal is, yeah, that's just a word for lentil. It's a Hindi word, dal. Like we'll call the name like moong dal, tur dal. You know, the red lentils are called, God, why am I not remembering that? It'll come to me. Basically, we will take the name of the dal and then we'll call dal. Like it's a dal is lentils in Hindi. And then beans have their own names. Okay. So I want to talk to you about, like I said, I want to use Swiss chard, right? So I do have Swiss chard. And I like to give a quick tip here while my tomatoes are getting done and, you know, we have time. So I like to clean my greens and then put them with a paper towel and then they will stay nice and fresh for 5 days. And I call this green gold because now I have, you know, I came in the kitchen, I have 5, 10, 20 minutes to cook. My greens are ready. If I want to make a smoothie, my greens are ready. So I've already rinsed them, drained them, but I don't spin dry them because if I was going to cook it, I don't spin dry. But if I was going to add, you know, eat it like salad, I would spin dry and keep it. So these are still wet. And I'm going to basically cut them all. So that's one bunch of Swiss chard. Yeah. And actually, I forgot to show you this. So the lentils got soaked. And they plump up a little bit. If you can notice, they look a little bit bigger. I know cameras sometimes have you can't tell for sure, but they do plump up a little bit because they soak the water. And what you do is you want to just go under the sink and you want to massage it with your hand. You want to go under the tap in the sink and you want to massage this really well and rinse a couple times till the water runs fairly clear. And once that happens, then you can put it in a pan with water and cook as per the recipe. Yeah.
Great. Here's a question. I have some whole amla. Can I grind it up in the blender and use it?
You have the whole amla. Is it dried or is it fresh?
Okay, please comment and let us know. And Mona wants to know, what kind of cutting board are you using?
This is called, I think it's called Epicurus, or it's a wooden cutting board, but it comes in colors, and they are unbreakable or break resistance, whatever you call it. So I like these. I just bought this because it kind of has a nice contrast for my classes, wood and the black. Otherwise, I also use plastic containers, plastic cutting board. So this one is Epicurus, and you can find it. I think local stores have it, Bed Bath & Beyond, or Amazon has it too. Now, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Nan wanted to know, can you use mango instead of mango powder? I don't think so.
No, you can't use mango for mango powder. I'll tell you why. It's a really good question. Mangoes are ripe, the ones you see here, but mango powder is made out of raw mango. So the raw mango is, you never probably, if you don't live where mangoes are grown, you've probably never seen raw mango in grocery stores. Sometimes Indian stores will carry raw mango, but they are also almost starting to ripen. So you want really raw, it's like rock hard green mango, and then they will peel it, cut it, and dehydrate it, and then powder it. So so you can literally make, just dice it, no big deal. Yeah. But my daughter is very picky, and if I cut it really thinly, I can sell it to her. So I like to just go and cut it very finely. I don't know if you can see it through the camera, but kind of as finely as possible. But as I said, you don't have to do it if you like chard and you don't mind I do want to not have ribbons, but cubes. So kind of cut it and then cut it the other way. So they kind of look like diced. And I'm just cutting it small because this will end up being my lunch and my daughter's dinner. So Chef AJ, I was in the store yesterday and I picked up radishes. Do you like radishes?
I do. I've air fried them. They're really good.
Wow. So what do you do with the greens of radish?
Gosh, I usually buy them without the greens. I'm going to be honest, at Trader Joe's in a little bag.
Okay. So I'm going to show you what we can do. I like to just, whenever I have radishes, of course, they go bad very quickly if you don't work on it right away. So let me just chop this and move it away, and I'll show you. I actually have a bunch of radish here, and I thought I'm going to just mix it up and put it in my curry. So you can literally put it in any beans you're cooking, or some of my students have told me that they even put it in their salad. I haven't tried that. So.
Oh, so the viewer that asked about the amla says she has whole amla.
Whole, dried, or fresh?
No, she said it was. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if it's fresh.
Okay, so I can just tell about both. So basically, if it's fresh, then you can chop it up and let it. You can literally chop it up, put it in your refrigerator in an open container. So let's say this is chopped amla in a little container, and leave it open. And in 7 to 10 days, they will dry out for you in your refrigerator. Just don't cover it because then they'll get moldy. Yeah. So you could dry it to preserve it for longer, or you could cut it up and put it in your smoothie, just a little piece at a time. Unless it's dried, you cannot make powder out of it, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and stir this. I think we're almost done with the curry anyway here. So what I do is with the back of the spoon, I'm just going to let this tomato mush up and kind of disintegrate in that sauce. So Chef AJ, I had this radishes, which I bought yesterday. So what I like to do is when I bring it home, if I'm going to save it together, chances are these will get bad. And then I don't feel like working with radishes. So I like to really separate them as soon as I come back from the store. So now my radishes are here, which I can use it when I want it. And they last for almost a month if you don't save it with the leaves. And then I have these leaves here, which I washed them really well because they're nice and organic radish. So I'm going to literally put that in my curry today.
Nice. There's a question. What do you think of Ayurvedic eating?
You know, Ayurvedic eating is really good, but it does promote a lot of ghee and a lot of milk. So especially ghee, but yeah. And then also I'm a little worried about all the herbs. If it's not organic, please don't use them because they can be very toxic. Dr. Michael Greger has actually put out a video on Ayurvedic herbal medicine, right? And like Triphala and all the popular ones, and it can be very contaminated with pesticides. So be careful of what you're eating. I honestly don't know a lot about Ayurveda, but I kind of cook like it because I grew up there and everybody sort of, weirdly follows it. You know what I mean? But I don't do dairy, so I don't strictly follow Ayurveda. Okay, so you see that beautiful? It's like I've chopped a cilantro, like it's so fine. Can you see that, Chef AJ?
Beautiful.
So pretty. And now it's just going to go in there and nobody will know that the radish went in. You see that? That's the Swiss chard and that's the radish. We're going to put all of it there. I'm going to just quickly wash my hands. And now we'll work on so my tempering is ready. This is called tempering. It's ready for me. And lastly, what I want to do is maybe put some chili powder. So that's the cayenne pepper, or Indian cayenne. Even though I've added a whole serrano, Indians love their chilies, right? So I'm going to add whatever is left here. I don't usually measure anything. I just cook with eye.
Yeah, me too. That's the best way.
Yeah, but when I have to write recipes, I have to measure it. But once I'm done writing recipes, I stop measuring. So this is ready. If I do eat salt, Chef AJ, so I would put a sprinkle of salt here. But salt is very easy to not eat or eat if it depends on how you like it. So I'm going to put this away right here. And then I'm going to bring this lentils to show you. Can you see all that? That's basically how it gets frothy when cooking lentils. Now, so my lentils are cooked, so 20 to 25 minutes. And this is not a lot of Indians do, but I like to take a whisk and I like to whisk. So keep looking at this texture. Once you whisk it, it's going to become super creamy. And my mother had a special gadget in India to do that. And that gadget, you have to do it like this, in that motion. But since I don't have that, I use a whisk. Because I always like very smooth lentil curries. Like I don't want to see the lentils. So you want to do this, especially if you cook it in Instant Pot, it's going to become super creamy also. So you see that it got a little more creamy. Can you tell the difference?
I love it.
Yeah. And so just use a regular whisk. And now I'm going to basically put it all together and then cook it for 3 minutes and we're done. So I'm going to put my tempering in. That's where all the flavor is, right? And then I'm going to also put all of these radish greens. It's going to have a nice peppery taste. And then that radish greens are, by the way, not part of the recipe, guys. So if you don't have radish, don't worry about it. And then here is my Swiss chard. So everything goes in and we just want to cook it till these leaves will wilt. That's it. So I'm gonna put this, actually, since I have the radish, I like to serve a little raw vegetables on the side of my meal. So I'm gonna rinse this, and I actually eat radish slowly. How do you eat your radish? Oh, you said you air fry it,
I like
right?
to air fry them. I think they're so good air fried, but they're also good on a salad.
Yeah, just like this, right? Rounds. I love radishes. Radishes have vitamin C in them. They're so good for you, but too much is too much, right? So I don't have an air fryer, Chef AJ, but I do like to put in the oven and kind of make it like chips, radish chips.
That sounds good.
Yeah. If I had a bigger kitchen, I probably have all the gadgets in the world.
I love gadgets.
Yeah. So, but I don't have it. So I just kind of, so I'm just going to let this cook. Actually, I'll just let this cook in the back stove here so it goes faster. And do I have cucumber? Then I have a piece of English cucumber too. And I like to always serve my food with a little bit of raw veggies. So I'm just going to cut this too, and we're almost ready to serve, or plate rather. So yeah, if anybody wants to take my online classes, Chef AJ, I actually teach 1 or 2 cook along classes every month. So my next one is meal prep for the week class. And then I'm doing a very fun class called Street Food of India.
Ooh, that sounds great.
Yeah, in September. And October, I'm teaching a flatbread, like a gluten-free flatbread class. I'm not gluten-free, but I like to teach all kinds of things because I have fun with my food. So, and then I also do PCRM classes. So I'm teaching in October, I'm going to do Let's Beat Breast Cancer, PCRM Food for Life series, which is a 5-class series. And also I'm offering a class for your, for the viewers today. And it's an Indian Spice 101 if they want to register for it.
I just put it again in the chat. So guys, click that link. It's a free class on Indian spices. Here's a great question. If we find ourselves at an Indian restaurant, what do you suggest we order in efforts to be as healthy as possible? So what's the best thing to order at an Indian restaurant?
In Indian restaurant, it's so hard to tell them to cook without, like, I have a hard time. I'll say, can you bring me some, and can you cook with less oil? No, sorry, we can't do that. So I just say that I'm allergic to oil. Please do your best. That's one thing. Second thing is you can order, Indian food has a lot of vegetarian dishes. As long as they don't add cream to it, you can literally eat like saag, or my favorite is dosas. Do you guys know about that? Like Chef AJ, have you had dosas?
I love them. I think that's what Shobha did in one of her classes.
Yeah. So dosas and chutneys, they come with 2 or 3 different chutneys. They will not be oil free, but they will definitely can make it with less oil. And then it also comes with a little lentil stew. So that's usually my safest thing to get in Indian store. I also like what Shobha did, the idlis. But yeah, as long as they don't put the paneer, and just tell them you don't want any paneer, which is Indian cheese, or cream. And Chef AJ, do you know that traditionally in India, we don't actually put any dish with cream?
Didn't know.
Yeah, there is no dairy. Like I grew up, my mother made 3 meals a day from scratch. She was a stay-at-home mom, and she cooked for us all the time, and we never had cream in anything really. It's so funny how in America, all the Indian restaurants have so much cream in the food. But I guess they're trying to, they're trying to please people. But, Indian food is so good and tasty. You really don't need the cream because the cream makes it taste like the same. Like for me, all Indian restaurant food tastes same because of that cream added to it. You know what I mean? So they should not add any cream. Okay, so I actually made some brown rice here in my rice cooker. Love my rice cooker. So I have it here ready to go. And I'm going to start basically serving. So I have a plate here.
Tell us what you eat in a day.
Yeah, so I am a big fan of fruits in the morning or a smoothie. I literally just have fruits in the morning as much as possible, or a really green smoothie, which means a lot of greens and some berries and some amla powder, and some flax. But for my lunch is my big meal. So I'll literally, whatever I'm cooking right now, I'll sit down and eat nicely. And then dinner is my lighter meal. So I would add a salad. If I've had too heavy, then maybe I'd have a smoothie in the evening or a salad. But I like to eat lunch as a big meal.
Me too, actually. It's my favorite meal.
Especially because I work from home, in the sense I go out to teach my class, but I'm back home, right? So I can do it. I understand people who are working and who cannot, afford to do that. So this one, Chef AJ, I don't like to overcook my greens. So you can see that those greens still look pretty fresh, if you can tell. But in India, the greens will look brown. So if you want to cook more, feel free. But I like to not do that. And I like to make my lentil curry a little bit watery, soupy rather, because the lentils will sit and become very thick very quickly. So it's always good to start with a little bit soupy, and it becomes stewish in 1 hour. Does that make sense? And then I'm going to add all of these vegetables to eat with.
Somebody's asking, what about saffron? Is it toxic?
I don't think so. I mean,
it's expensive. It's a very expensive.
Yeah, you can use a little bit of saffron. I don't even own saffron right now. I don't even have it but you can use it. My mother never used saffron for some reason. So I make all my food without saffron, but definitely use it if you have it. So here you go, Chef AJ. What do you think? You want to come over here?
I absolutely do.
So here's our meal. And, it's always good to add more vegetables whenever possible.
Jesse wants to know what kind of stainless steel pans you're using.
I actually have pans from Wolfgang Puck. It's a whole set, but this is not part of that set. So this is a $10 pan from Tuesday Morning. And I just needed a pan which looked, under the camera, and it's lighter in weight, so it's easy to cook with, in this setup. And that's why I bought this. And it's really just $10 and seems to work for me. So I have two such pans, which are my favorite pans. This one and a big broad skillet, also $10. But the other ones I use all the time. And I've had the whole set for 20 years now. So I love them.
Nice. What's your favorite meal?
Chef AJ, I actually don't cook Indian every day. I have fun with my food. So I'll make Mexican. Sometimes I'll make Ethiopian. Sometimes I make kebabs with lentils. So various things. I'm actually sprouting. I'm sprouting mung beans to make kebabs tomorrow. And so this will be ready by evening, and I'll make kebabs. So I kind of do lots of different things. If you say, what's my favorite meal? Really is rice and lentils and a side of Indian side dish, like a veggie cooked on the side, and cilantro chutney. That's my favorite Indian meal. That's because I grew up eating that almost on a daily basis. So I love that. But when my kids go back to visit my parents and they make this every day, and my kids will get bored because it's the same thing over and over, right?
How old are your kids?
My kids, I have a 16-year-old and a 20-year-old.
And do they eat healthy like you?
My kids eat 90-10. So 90% healthy as healthy. Like they go in the kitchen and first thing they'll do is chop veggies. And 10%, whatever they're eating outside or with friends, they have the flexibility.
Yeah, I've got to read a couple of comments, okay? I think you've got some fans and friends watching because I hope I pronounce your name right. Shyama Manjari Dasi. Do you know that name? Okay. Well, they said, I made this dish today with horse gram lentils. And then we have Mike who says, oh my gosh, we started this way of eating over 8 years ago, attending one of Sapna's classes. You have hit the big time. Please tell her hello for me.
Oh yeah, Mike is one of the people who got so much into vegan food. Like sometimes I have to learn from him. So hi, Mike. You are, you're really good. So he and his wife, became vegan. I was teaching an employee wellness class, and they came to my PCRM class there.
That's fantastic. That's so I've been posting the link and I signed up myself. When is the free spice class?
I think it's on the 19th at 6 p.m. Mountain Time.
So that would be
8 p.m. Eastern Time.
And 5 p.m. Pacific time. That's a great time for a class because I'm done work usually by 5. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I get to see you in my class, Chef AJ. That's
I know. I'm going to take it because spices are really important. That's something we always want to learn about.
Yeah, I would love to have you in my class. So such an honor.
It looks so fresh and delicious. You know what I think I might do is, if it's okay, just put you back on one camera now. Would that be all right?
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me, I'm doing, okay. Remove spotlight. There you are. Let me put myself back so I can talk to you again. There's so much technology. I don't know how people ever do it. Okay. Put it in. There we go.
Yeah.
That was fabulous, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love what I do. And I love teaching. Like a lot of people say, can you open a restaurant? I'm like, no, but I like educating. That's my thing,
Yeah. Do you do any kind of batch cooking?
I do actually. Like when I make brown rice, like it seemed like a lot of brown rice, I'll put in a container and I'll throw it in the freezer. So I'm always cooking and storing. So here I have a batch of brown rice ready to go. I have my broth. I make my own broth and put it in my freezer. So I do a lot of stuff. Sometimes I'll just keep it in the fridge. So, but I don't tend to set aside Sunday because I don't have a 9-to-5 job, right? So I do little bit every time I'm cooking, which means I make extra every time I'm cooking.
That's the best way to do it.
That way I put it aside and then it's in the freezer. If, I lentils and beans, I like to throw it in the freezer just because otherwise if they stay in the fridge for a long time, they'll cause gas. So I put in the freezer in portion size. That way, whoever's eating it can thaw it and eat it. Yeah, because my son will come from college like middle of the night and say, Mom, is there food? And he'll go in the freezer and he has some food, sitting there. Because my rule is after 6 o'clock, don't go in the kitchen to cook. And so if anybody wants anything, they have to cook themselves.
You're great. Do you have time to exercise with your busy teaching?
I do. I actually exercise. I love walking. And I go to gym twice maybe, or I recently had an auto accident, so I'm kind of recovering from that. So I have a lot of aches and pains right now, which you can't see, which is good.
No. Well, you're adorable. You don't look old enough to have a 16-year-old.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much. It's all the lights on me.
Well, you look great. You're really delightful. It was such a pleasure watching you cook. I like watching other people cook rather than cook myself, to be honest.
I like all your shows. I've watched so many of your shows, the Wednesday shows you teach cooking. but Chef and the Direction was my favorite
That
show.
was a lot. That was
It
the
was
first
a
one.
lot
That's
of
how. That's
fun.
when I started this channel. Was about 12 years ago with that show. So thank you for remembering that.
Yeah, I was feeling like, why did they stop doing that? I loved Juliana and you, and all that laughter. And I would just go to my work and come back, and I'm like, I used to watch a show as to unwind myself. So it was fun.
That's fantastic. Well, maybe you'll come back and show us another recipe sometime.
I would love that. Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you so much. And
Thanks, AJ.
It is my pleasure. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow for another fabulous cooking demo with Hannah Kaminsky, who has a brand new book, and she is one of the most talented photographers in the plant-based world. Thanks, everyone. Thanks again, Sapna. This was wonderful.
Thank you, Chef AJ. Appreciate it.
Take care.